Alrighty, folks, welcome into the After Schrock. We're going to mess around a little bit with the studio software here, and I'll show you some funny stuff today. But I wanted to make sure we give everyone a chance to connect to the program. I want to apologize to Ginger Rogers. I was supposed to call her at 7:20 to have her come on the show and do an appearance about her new website that Schrock Interactive built for her. And given all the studio upgrades and everything that blew up in my face last night trying to get this done, I forgot to put her on the schedule. So next week we're going to hear from Ginger. I apologize, Ginger. But yeah, so let's dive into it here. Make sure we got everybody connected up. All right. So first off, I'm going to ask you, what do you want to talk about today? We can talk about. Hey, how's the sound, guys? Is it really loud, like really hard, or hot, as we call it in the industry? I'm seeing my meter peg out a lot, and I'm not sure that that's really something I want to have happen. So I might just lower that device volume just a tad. So if it's too quiet now, please let me know, and I will turn it back up again. All right, yes. Okay, too hot. And okay, there's 75% volume. How about now? Is that better? Are we still pegging out really hard? All right, there we go. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to pull up over here on this screen the Facebook page so I can see comments because when I have the studio software open, I can't see Facebook. So we're going to bring it up over here, and that way I can pay attention to what's going on with the live feed as well. So let me... why? Interesting. I don't see our previous show there yet. That's kind of weird. Hopefully it's there. It's streamed, so it should be there. Alrighty, scrolling. Oh, that's because that's a video. There it is. Got it. Oh, that does look so much better than the old one. That looks a lot better. Okay. And we're going to click on it so we can go watch live comments. Too quiet now. Sounds fine. Too quiet. Turn back. Audio too soft to hear you well. And there's a hum. All right, so we're picking up the equipment hum here on the board. So let's go back up to 85. Now we're at 85%. How do we sound now, everybody? It's like Goldilocks here. Audio's too soft to hear you well. All right, so I'll wait for an update here. We just bumped it up to 85. So in your update, say 85 is good if it's good. All right, so as you can see, we've made some modifications or some changes to the studio here. We've included a Chroma Key Background. Dominion. Yeah, I can talk about Dominion a little bit. The studio background that you see behind me here is just a green screen. Like this is, you can see it kind of in the light there. There you go. So it's a green screen. So I can put whatever image behind it that I wanted to. So the first one that I tried to do, let me see if I do this right here. Boom. The first one I thought would be really cool was this one here. Let me set it to loop. Forgot to do that earlier. So I'm doing this in real time, which is incredibly bad TV, radio. But it'll be good. All right, so we'll put that on loop. And I wanted to do that. So let's see here. So we can see that one now. Let's see if that works. So I thought this would be a cool background for the show today, because I can do rolling video behind me, right? So the sun's rising behind us. It's a morning show. You know, we're kind of in a rural area, so we've got the wind turbine. You know, if you drive back and forth to Des Moines, you see a lot of those. But the thing I didn't like is when the video loops, it jigs. So the drone that's filming this must be slowly drifting. Is if you watch that wind turbine behind my head, see that right there? How it jumped? Yeah, I didn't like that. I was like, oh, come on. I don't want it to jump like that. Alrighty. So that one was out the window, right? So then I did this one here. Now, the funny thing, this is what it looks like with nothing behind me, just the green screen, the chroma key. This next one looked amazing. I loved it. I was like, oh, this is beautiful. It's a peaceful scene. It's really cool. Water rippling. And then I listened, I did a test on my personal Facebook, and then I listened to it on my phone, and I didn't realize that there's actually an audio track to the video. There's a conversation in German happening in the background, a couple German women talking. So I'm going to enable this one here and show you this. This is the one that I was going to go with, and I spent a ton of time trying to knock the audio track out of this thing. and it kept crashing my computer literally every time. I tried to render it for 4 hours, and I'm like, okay, I'm done. I'm just going to go with the compute this logo on the backdrop and call it good. All right, so let's get rid of the German ladies here, and we'll go back to our normal stuff. There we go. So the cool thing about the OBS Broadcast Studio software is the idea here is eventually I'll be able to have actual commercial spots during the commercial break, so you won't have to sit here and watch me drink my coffee and stuff, or watch me type and answer people on Facebook. It's incredibly exciting, I know. But the nice thing is then I have to change the audio source, and as we know, that's why we have a separate After Schrock show, because the audio sources don't quite work. When you switch them, it blows up the Facebook feed for some reason. So the other thing is, as I am aware, a lot of people are making some moves in their social media lives right now. And, I'm no exception to that. I started a Parler account the other day just to kind of get to know it. I've never been a big Twitter user, honestly. It's never appealed to me. So I said, I'll take a look at Parler and see what's going on. And right now, Parler is a giant echo chamber. I mean, even as somebody who leans right, okay, you can only hear the same thing over and over and over so many times. It's like I'd like to have some dissenting opinion or some other perspectives here so I can kind of put everything into a context. But it's hard to do that when there's not a lot of different people there. So the answer is, of course, go there. If you want to be a Parler rock star, go there, because you totally could be right now, because there's millions of people using it, but not tens of millions of people using it, or 100 million people using it like Twitter. So it's kind of neat. One of the things, there's a service called Restream Io that allows us to take one feed that we're using right now from the OBS Studio software and send it to all the different streaming platforms. So we could send it to Vimeo, we could send it to YouTube, we could send it to Twitch, we could send it to Periscope on Twitter. So we could send it to all those different places at the same time, and then it aggregates all the comments back in one place so we can follow them. So that's going to be an exciting thing if we do that. It's $100 a month for that Restream license, though. So I thought, you know what, before I spend $100 a month trying to stream it to all these other platforms where I don't even know if people are aware that it exists, before we do that, let's get the backdrop, let's get it looking better, right? Because, I love KFAB, and I love being in the studio here. The people here are amazing, but let's just be frank, the studio wall behind me was not looking too hot. So I wanted to do something to dress this up a little bit, and this is what we did. I bought a $150 portable Chroma Key backdrop because I can't install anything permanent because it's not my studio. So that's just stand up behind me every show. I got to come up 10 minutes earlier. Now I get up at 5:30 in the morning to come up and do the show so that I can get it all set up and torn down in time. The other thing I noticed is that when I'm talking to the camera, my camera was on my laptop lid, so I was looking like this all the time. I was always looking down at the camera, which means you were getting a shot of all this ceiling above my head that you didn't need to see. So to fix that, what we did is I got a new stand for my camera that actually elevates it and holds it up at closer to eye level. So that way I can sit and talk with you like I'm actually looking at you. But then the problem is when I look at my keyboard or do something with a computer screen now, I'm drastically not looking at the camera. But it looks a lot better. I was trying to figure out why is it that when I am at home doing a Facebook Live from my home studio, it looks so much better than when I'm at the studio, the KFAB studio. Why does my KFAB stuff look so craptacular? Part of the problem is that the bandwidth is lower here, so there's not as much available speed to send video. And Facebook only lets you change so many settings. This software that I'm using allows me to control all of the settings. So I actually have frame jacked it down quite a bit. I think it's at 24. Normal video is at 30 frames per second. This is down to 24 to reduce the amount of data we are sending every frame. And that has resulted in fewer dropped frames, which means a smoother experience online and better detail. So Facebook doesn't have to drop my frames. I'm dropping it before I even send them to Facebook. And that's why it's less blurry than it was before, and that's why the background is a lot sharper. And of course, the fact that there is nothing else behind me besides a solid surface means that there is less change in every frame of picture to process. So that helps out quite a bit as well. All right. Whoo. Let's go in and see all the comments here. I suppose I should have looked to see if 85 was good, huh? Good. 85 is good. Better. 95 would be better. 85 is good. Okay. Do you have recommendations for Firefox extensions regarding security, privacy, or productivity? Extensions are a careful thing. You have to be really careful with them because when you install an extension, one of the most popular extensions for any browser is an auto refresh feature. It's useful for websites that are like banking websites that if you don't refresh the page after a certain period of time, it'll log you out. So this is just a little thing that just hits refresh every 90 seconds or so. I use it to stay logged into the financial stuff for the company so that as I'm throughout the day I can check and see, are the shops producing today, what are we going to have for a drop tomorrow, those kind of things. It's a nice tool to have. So I use that extension, but it's the third one I've gone through because the two previous ones were identified as malware and I had to get rid of them. So I purposefully introduced malware as an extension in my browser, which is something that the antivirus software does not detect very well. They rely on the policing of the community to pull those down, and the Chrome store and the extension store for Firefox do a pretty good job of doing that. But literally they're volunteers, so you get what you pay for. As far as other extensions, there's a video grabber extension, the video downloader, I believe I have. My VPN software has a Firefox extension which is enabled for ExpressVPN. That's really nice. I subscribe to that though. There's a browser extension that I really like called Honey. It's really cool. So with Honey, if you do a lot of online shopping and online ordering, number one, Honey will programmatically go through the checkout process and try all the different coupon codes that it knows about to see which one gives you the best deal, which is really nice. Number two, if you shop on eBay specifically, you can get what's called Honey Gold. And they give it to you for other sites too, but primarily eBay. And it's literally pennies on the dollar, basically. You get a penny for every dollar you spend, right? Well, when you're Schrock Innovations and you order so much stuff, we order a lot of stuff off eBay. A lot of weird little parts we need to fix computers and stuff like that. When we can't find them from the manufacturer anymore, we can usually find them on eBay. So we'll order the part on eBay. And so this Honey Gold, for like 2 years, I just haven't been paid. It's like, oh, you got Honey Gold. I'm like, great, I don't know what to do with Honey Gold, whatever. The other day, I finally got curious about it and said, what is this Honey Gold? And I had like $50 in Amazon gift certificates or eBay gift certificates that I could redeem from all my Honey Gold. So it's kind of nice. If you buy a lot of stuff online, you can really save a pretty good amount of money. It's like 1% cash back on eBay, basically, on top of all the credit card points and things like that you might get. So if you're one of those power couponers, it's not a bad deal. So those are a couple that I like. The Morning Ag Report. Yeah, the Morning Ag Report. This just in. They had the breaking news spinning globe thing, and I'm like, that might be too much. I wanted to find something that looked like I was in like a professional studio with maybe a newsroom behind me. Like there's a glass wall, kind of like what you see on the news, and there's people walking around or working back there doing things. You don't hear them. You just see like people moving around and doing their thing. I thought that would be a really cool one. Of course, I can find those, but I have to pay for those. And so the whole point today was proof of concept, because I set all this up at home, and literally, like, my desk at home is 3 feet from the wall, so I had this behind me, which takes up about 1.5 feet, and then I was squeezed into an office chair. I couldn't even get out. If I had to pee, I just had to like hold it till I was done whatever I was doing. Then I could get up. But I had to adjust the lighting. I had to mess with a lot of stuff to make this look good. And so I knew when I got into the studio here, the lighting is less than ideal. So I wasn't sure it would work. So before I went in and said, I'm going to buy a background and I'm going to pay for all this, I'm going to pay for Restream, before we decided to do any of that, I said, you know what, let's get into the studio with the Chroma Key, let's make sure that it works, and then we can work on changing things out, because there's all kinds of things I can do here. And this is the other thing, I'm working on hiring a new employee right now to help out with Schrock Interactive with proposal writing and project management. But one of the things I would really like this person to be able to do is also run a board for me on Sunday mornings. And so basically, I can switch inputs on this. So I can switch to a view of using a computer. I can make elements appear and disappear. So like, for example, this. Oh, whoop, that's the wrong image. See, that's why I need a board op. I need somebody that's going to do this for me. All right, let me see. There it is, the logo. So I'm going to drop the logo in 3, 2, 1. There it goes. And so now the logo is gone. Now imagine instead when I'm talking about Google, a Google logo pops up over my shoulder over here. Kind of like on the news where you see that stuff popping up over the anchor's shoulder. That's something that we can do. It requires some planning. You have to have a library of graphics basically, and then you have to have somebody who can live switch them, and it's hard for me, especially if I'm looking at the camera, to be down here trying to live switch graphics. Because if I make a mistake, I grab the wrong graphic and it goes away and it's really embarrassing. And the nice thing is you can see, if they know where I'm going next, we have a show schedule now. The person running the board knows where I'm going next. They can have that graphic ready, and then they just click transition. And then they can prepare the next slide, and then they can say transition. Or when we go to commercial break, rather than you hearing the KFAB feed of the Schrock Innovations generic commercials, and rather you watching me drink coffee online, I could actually play a Schrock video commercial to you that has audio and video. We're trying to. I've been watching some of Bongino's stuff, and that guy's got a really sweet podcast, and it's giving me podcast envy a little bit. Okay, so I'm trying to up my game a little bit. I'm trying to make us a little bit better, so that when people look at us, that's not like Thor's Bargain Basement podcast here. Alrighty, skip the turbine. Got it. All right, yeah, you made a comment about Asus laptops and the Windows Update. I have a wireless mouse. Once in a while, I get a pop-up about a Logitech dongle. Is there a setting to change? Everything seems to be okay except for the pop-up. That dongle is programmable. And so what it's popping up and telling you is there's an update for your mouse. I would install the update when it pops up. All right, I have Allo with 2.4 and 5 gigahertz connections, and my 5G band stops showing up on one computer and the other computer shows up and works fine. Is there a fix? All right, so if the 5G band was there for the computer where it's now missing, that means you have the right equipment to receive it. Are you sure it was there to begin with? Because older Wi-Fi cards didn't have a 5G band. So it's possible that one of the bands in the Wi-Fi receiver for your Wi-Fi card has failed and the card needs to be replaced. Doesn't matter if it's a laptop or a desktop, those cards are completely replaceable and we can handle that all day long at Schrock. So like I mentioned in the show, if you're a new customer and you've never been in before, your first hour of labor is free. And this is a perfect example of something that we can fix in an hour. Installing a Wi-Fi card is slam bam, thank you ma'am, pretty easy stuff. Now when I say an hour, I don't mean a clock hour because phones are ringing, people are coming in and out. It might take a few hours for us to get to that computer on the bench. But when I talk about an hour, I mean it's going to be a charge of 1 hour to fix something like that. But yeah, it sounds like your wireless card may have malfunctioned, and that's a physical hardware problem that we'd have to replace. If you want a software thing to try before you go that route, I would go into the device manager, and to do that, again, this would be nice to be able to share my screen right now. You right-click on the Start menu, and then left-click on the device manager, and then you find your network card in there, and you delete it. You highlight it in blue, and you hit delete on your keyboard, you remove it, and then you restart your computer, and it'll redetect and reinstall and reset all the settings and everything. So if you were monkeying with stuff and it all got jacked up, you just do that, reboot the computer, and it'll all come back fresh. Then if it sees the 5G band, great. If it doesn't, then it's a hardware problem that you have to replace the hardware. Alrighty, scrolling down here. Cheryl and Rich, good to have you with us today. Appreciate it. Good morning, Roy. Carolyn, good morning. Carolyn Lloyd in Round Rock, Texas. Liking it. Good morning from Round Rock, Texas. Thanks so much for good information this morning as always. Well, thank you for being here, Carolyn. I appreciate it. Think of all the new responsibilities the network football people have now with the fake crowd noise. Isn't that the truth, right? I mean, when I went to college at UNL, like every Friday, like if you were anywhere near the stadium, they piped crowd noise in the whole day into the stadium to get the players acclimated to hearing it when they were practicing, basically. So I've heard that before, and they have crowd noise tracks. That's not a hard thing to do. But the thing that blows my mind is when they're doing like the Fox does the thing with the virtual football players and stuff. Hi Thor, I signed out of my main Gmail account in order to sign into my other Gmail account, and now Chrome won't allow me to sign into either Gmail account. It tells me to use a browser that supports JavaScript. Chrome doesn't support Gmail? No, Chrome definitely supports Gmail, and Gmail does not require JavaScript. That is very weird, John. That should not be happening. Yeah, that's really weird. Something is definitely not right with Chrome. Let's start there. Diagnostically, the first thing you do when a program is malfunctioning or misbehaving is you uninstall it and reinstall it. As I mentioned, Chrome did get 5 security patches in the last week. It's possible one of yours has gone squirrely. If you have Secure Updater on your computer, which you all should, trust me, I mean, this thing has saved so many people. if you have Secure Updater on your computer, if you have a license for it, if you uninstall Google Chrome and reboot your computer, Secure Updater will say, oh, look, version 0 is what you have because it's not installed. My version 74 whatever is current. Therefore, I'm going to install my version on your computer because it's checked in Secure Updater. So Secure Updater will automatically reinstall Chrome for you, but just uninstall it and reboot the computer. That's the first diagnostic step I would try. But no, Gmail works fine in Chrome and it does not require JavaScript. But JavaScript is dead in Google Chrome. That is true. Also, I think you should put a traffic scene on your green screen, like a 1950s movie, so it looks like you're driving down a road. Yeah, I can just sit here like this. So, welcome to Compute This, guys. Watch where you're going! So, hey. Love the new background. Improvement in Schrockville. That's right. We're classing up the joint here, Deborah. That's right. All right. Morning from South Dakota. Good morning. Yeah, I'm serious. I turned the lovely Kimberly onto that honey extension, and she just said here it saved her $50 the other day. It's awesome, and there's always a coupon code for pizza. There's always a coupon code for eBay. There's always there's coupon codes for sites. Like the other day, I had to order a screen from a website that was like some hole in the wall website somewhere, and Honey found me a $5 off coupon that they put on there. The thought occurred to me, maybe we should send that early bird discount coupon to Honey for the holiday special. So if you use Honey, it'll automatically give you the coupon for the holiday special. So that's the other thing, guys. I'm being really serious about the holiday specials this year. I know a lot of you bought tech. I got some emails here right at the end of the show. Janet Reddick says her 2010 Christmas special is 10 years old on Thursday, November 19th, and it's still rocking and rolling. So, I mean, they last, guys. These computers are beasts. Got a great compliment for Tom in the Des Moines Service Center here. All around just has been a really, the challenge with the holiday specials right now is getting the parts. Normally we would just call ahead and say we want to book 100 processors or 125 processors. Just in case we don't sell out, we always left a little margin because we can always find 25 in the open market somewhere. I want to book 125 processors and I want you to give me your best price on 125. And they say, well, our best price is 10% off, 2% off, 4% off, whatever. But you aggregate that over the cost of the computer, and it brought the computer price down so much. That's what allows us to sell a $3,000 computer, guys, for $1,599. So that's awesome, right? Well, we know as we get closer to Christmas now, parts are going to become less available. This is a fact. We know this is going to happen. Therefore, what we did is the price of the holiday special is $1,599 this year. If you order before the end of November, you can get a $100 discount with that coupon code EARLYBIRD. You can also use it in the service center. Just say, hey, I want the early bird discount, and we'll give you the $100 off. But it's $1,599, coupon code EARLYBIRD to get the $100 off. And that will go until the end of this month, and then it's done. So we want you to order early. We are asking you, if you are going to purchase a holiday special, to please buy it early so that we have time to get the parts and time to build it, especially if it's a Christmas gift. If you're a company, we have a lot of companies this time of year that purchase holiday specials. There are two types of companies in this pandemic. There's companies who had the opportunity to flourish, and there are companies who got their teeth kicked in. And the ones who got to flourish, don't get me started on all this, but the ones that got to flourish have more profitability and money than they know what to do with. The ones that got their teeth kicked in are barely hanging on. So the ones that have all the profitability need to find some place to sink that so they don't have to pay taxes on it. And one of the most common things they do is buy equipment before the end of the year, because you can fully depreciate equipment in the year that you buy it right now under the tax code. So you buy 5 holiday specials, and now you've got $7,000 gone. But you had to buy everybody computers anyway, right? We may as well buy one that's going to last 10 years, and we may as well take the tax advantage this year. That's why I bought a new truck this year, guys. I knew I was going to have to buy a new truck anyway. We got a fifth wheel. I wanted to haul the fifth wheel. The F-150 didn't have the suspension to do it. I had to get an F-350. So if I'm going to do it, I could have put it off. We weren't really hauling it anywhere this year. There's nowhere to go. If I was going to put it off, I could have put it off, but I said, you know what, let's do it this year so we have the tax write-off. We can carry it forward if we need to. Depending on how the holiday season goes, we'll know whether or not we need to. About a third of our annual business is compressed into the last 45 days of the year, if that tells you anything. Alrighty. Use a chase scene from an old black and white movie. That would be funny. I think a picture of your shop would be nice. Yeah, we could do that. We could do a picture of the service center. I could set up a camera and just shoot some video. The problem is when you loop the video. When you loop the video, people moving in and out of frame. So then there's like there's a person there, and then all of a sudden, boop, they're gone. So you almost need something like wind in the trees. I thought it would be nice if I could get a scene of a camera shooting out a window at a scene. The problem is it's seasonal, so fall leaves were pushing it a little bit. No one wants to look at a snowy backdrop. But then I thought I could change the backdrop for the weather outside. If it's rainy, I could have a rainy background. If it's snowing, I could have a snowy background. If it's sunny, I could have a sunny background. Then there's the cityscapes, but no one has a long-term exposure cityscape of the Omaha, Lincoln, Papillion, or Des Moines cityscape. And even so, if I use one of those, every other city will complain that I'm not using theirs. So I don't know what we're going to do. We're going to have something for a background. Maybe it'll become like a big thing where, what's the background going to be today? Bloop, and it changes. I don't know. We'll find out. Or maybe we'll have a spinning Schrock logo thing. Compute this, presents. And then we'll transition into Thor and he'll have a background. I don't know. I don't know how difficult or complex we're going to make it. All right. How about a crawl with the prices of the stocks you've discussed? Well, I'm not a stock picker. Come on. If you take I've said this a million times. So guys, here's the thing. I told everyone, go to bonds. The election's going to be crazy, right? There was a hell of a rally. I was wrong, right? So I put half of my money in the bonds. And I did okay. I got a little piece of the rally, but I didn't get as much as I could have got. And now I'm terrified because, all right, somebody asked me to talk about the Dominion voting system thing. I'm not going to get too deep in the weeds on this because you can get really, really, really deep in the weeds on it. But, so there are voting machines, right? So you go to the voting machine. Some of the machine, you fill in your ballot. It's not like a touchscreen voting machine. You fill in your paper ballot and you stick it in the machine, and the machine reads the ballot, tabulates the votes, bloop, and it's done. Some of them are touchscreen. And then those have an internal tape inside that records the vote, and then bloop, it's added to the data set. So all of these voting machines, very much like a slot machine, have to be certified by the state before they can be used for voting. They have to be tested to make sure that they are good to go. All of the Dominion voting systems are reported to have, now I say this because we are living in a world right now that's really tricky. Normally you could count on mainstream media to actually vet a story and check something out. The thing that I have to say now is that there was a patch that was supposedly pushed out to the Dominion voting systems the night before the election. The software in these systems has to be certified before it can be used in an election. So patching it the night before, I'm not sure if maybe there's an exemption for a patch versus a whole operating system or how that works. It's suspicious that they were all patched the night before, supposedly. That's what we've heard anyway. The problem is nobody has actually gone to Dominion voting systems and said, did you push a patch to the voting systems the night before the election? And if so, what was that patch intended to do? Nobody's asked the question. Your alt media sources, they can ask the question all day long. Dominion's not going to answer them. It's harder to ignore ABC News or NBC News or Fox News because they're so established. But they're not asking the question. So maybe they are asking the question and there's just no story there. Maybe they asked and then there was just nothing to report, so they didn't report it. Maybe they're not asking the question. But basically what the belief is on the right. Now, I'm going to keep this as apolitical as possible, okay? Because everybody has money that's green, right? Whether they're liberals, whether they're conservatives, whether Republicans or Democrats. And you're not watching Compute This to get a political... I'm not Rush Limbaugh, right? I could never be Rush Limbaugh. I don't have... he has more talent in his pinky finger than I have in my entire body. There's no way I could do that job. I'm not an anchor on CNN. I'm not a representative on MSNBC. It's not me, right? So what I try to do is I try to tell you straight what I think is happening and try to be fair about it from every side. So number one, if you go online to all the mainstream media, the party line is there was no voting fraud. There is no proven voter fraud. There was no voter fraud. There isn't any voter fraud, period. That's the end of the story. It's a little misleading because there isn't any voter fraud because no one has looked, number one. There isn't any voter fraud because no one's been caught. Now, does that mean that it didn't happen? Logic 101. If nobody got caught, does that mean it didn't happen? No. Does it mean that it happened in such a egregious fashion that it would have overturned the results of the election? Unknown. That's the thing. You can't say. Everyone who's a Trump supporter knows that if there was no fraud, Trump has lost the election. So obviously Trump supporters are saying there was fraud. Let's look into this, because it's the only way that Trump can stay in office potentially. Well, there's one other way, but that's not going to happen. That's if the electors are faithless electors, and basically the states send electors. So in Nebraska, for example, we split our electoral vote. So we have one vote going to Joe Biden, and the rest of them are going to Trump. So if Governor Ricketts, who is in his final term as governor, sent all 5 electors to the Electoral College and instructed them to all vote for Donald Trump, that is the right of a state. The state, in many cases, does not have to honor the popular vote of its constituents. It's because the Electoral College is not intended to be a popular vote system. The Electoral College is where states, the 50 states, get together to decide who the president is. The illusion that we all vote and get to choose the president is something that's become commonplace. But it's so commonplace that if we change it, you want to see riots in the street? That would do it, all right? So it's not going to happen. But was there fraud? The level of fraud that would have had to happen to turn the results of the election would have to be on a massive scale. So we saw a situation in a precinct in Michigan where there was a glitch in the voting in the Dominion voting software, where votes that were cast for Donald Trump were either thrown out or inadvertently tabulated for Biden. In this case, there was approximately 6,000 votes that were inadvertently tabulated for Joe Biden. So when you correct that glitch, it reduces Joe Biden's vote count by 6,000 votes and increases Trump's vote count by 6,000. So it's a net change on the number line of 12,000 votes. Does that follow? So it's not just 6,000, it's 12,000, because Joe Biden gets 6,000 closer and Trump gets 6,000 closer. So it's a 12,000 vote shift. In that county where it happened, it was enough to change who won the county. It was also enough to change some of the down ballot races as well. A Republican won their seat when they thought they had lost to the Democrat. There was now that was a glitch in the system where votes were tabulated incorrectly. Now the problem is, what was the glitch? Nobody has asked that I've seen. Nobody has said what happened that caused that. And could that have happened in other Dominion voting systems across the country? That's the question. The same software was being used across the state of Michigan in all of the counties. So it had the same glitch. So was the glitch specific to that county? We don't know. Could the glitch have spread across multiple counties? We don't know. But the beautiful thing is there is a tape inside the machine that records the votes. Right? Now it's a computer, so anything can be done with a computer. I can make whatever get printed on the tape I want to get printed on the tape. But that's all we have is the tape, right? So if there was a programmatic switching of votes, the way they figured that out is they compared the internal tape to the vote tally, and they found a discrepancy. So now the question is, how many other states are using Dominion voting systems? And unfortunately, it's all of the battleground states are using the voting system, the Dominion voting systems. How many of them had the glitch? Unknown, because we're not looking, apparently. I don't know. And who is, who's counting the vote? Basically, who's going to go back and double check? So that's what the court cases are about right now. There was a slim victory for Trump in one court case where he got something like 1,000 ballots tossed that were not supposed to be counted or something like that. I don't know all the details behind it. It's not my job to be a political man. But he got 1,000 votes. It's not enough to move the election. There's still like 20,000 or 30,000 or 50,000 votes that separate him in Michigan. But the challenge is if that Dominion voting system glitch was across the state, we have a problem. The Supreme Court in Pennsylvania has asked that ballots that were received after 8 p.m. be sequestered. The reason that they've asked for this to happen is because ballots, the state election law says ballots must be received by 8 p.m. The election commissioner of the state arbitrarily she arbitrarily said, we're going to extend the voting deadline to be 3 days later. But there's a state law that says the voting day is the voting day. So there is some doubt as to whether or not she exceeded her authority in extending the vote deadline. That's a legit question. The Supreme Court's going to be looking at that question, so they asked them to segregate the ballots, which is a good sign for Trump, because if you don't segregate the ballots, that means we're not going to look at it. You segregate. If the Supreme Court tells you to keep those ballots separate, keep them separate, because we may be throwing all of them out. Now, the next thing is a little more conspiratorial. There are some reports on alt-right media that cannot be verified. There's always a whistleblower. I've seen lots of headlines. Whistleblowers coming forward about the Dominion voting systems. We don't get their name. We just get Rudy Giuliani saying there's a whistleblower. Now, I am not so naive as to believe that everything that Rudy Giuliani says is the God's honest truth. Right? He's serving a political agenda and a legal agenda. Those two are sometimes mutually exclusive and sometimes not. So he can say one thing for political reasons with his lawyer hat on that will never become a court case, that will never go to court. So I'm kind of discounting what everybody says right now, because I can't believe the mainstream media, because they lied about the Joe Biden, Hunter Biden story. They didn't report it. They said it was Russian disinformation when it was demonstrably evident that it was not. So if you're going to lie about that, you just shot your credibility to hell. Now, on the other side, you've got a lot of upset people, okay? The aerial pictures of that Million MAGA march yesterday in D.C. were phenomenal. That was the most people I have ever seen in the streets of Washington, D.C. It was insane. And, of course, agitators showed up. People's tempers are flaring right now. Which is why it's like the calls for unity right now, it's way too soon, guys. I'm not going to get angry when someone says we should all unite and get together. I might shake my head and roll my eyes, because I'm like, of course, everybody wants to unite once your guy is in. And then the people, now it's like, Mark Levin is a guy I respect a lot, a radio talk show guy. He is literally on fire about this. He's like, welcome to the new resistance. We're going to do the exact same thing to Joe Biden that they did to Trump. And it's like, there's a part of me that's like, is that right? Number one, fighting a legitimate claim that you think there was fraud in an election, that's one thing. And then you hate to say it, but the left was very effective at keeping Trump tied up for years with fake investigations on stuff that didn't happen. How are you going to get Joe Biden tied up in that kind of stuff? The Hunter Biden story is not going to go away, that's for sure, because Republicans are going to probably control the Senate, so they're going to keep talking about it. They're going to have hearings about it. And then you're going to have, if Nancy Pelosi becomes the Speaker of the House, my mother-in-law said, I hope she doesn't become Speaker. I'm like, no, I bet the Republicans hope she becomes the Speaker. It's a lot easier to run against Nancy Pelosi than it is to run against Joe Biden in a midterm. You want Nancy Pelosi for the midterm. Anyway, so the Dominion voting systems, there is doubt as to whether or not they accurately counted the vote. In the minds of people on the right, in the minds of people on the left, and in the mainstream media, the Dominion voting systems are perfect. They never, ever, ever have a problem, and therefore we should just trust the results and accept it and just congratulate Joe Biden. There's going to be court cases. December 20th is the big day when the electors have to go vote, according to the Constitution. So all the court cases need to be resolved before December 20th. And if they're not resolved before December 20th, that's when things are going to get interesting. Because imagine a scenario where you have a Republican governor with a Republican state house, because the Republicans actually gained the state houses in many states. And they retained all of the ones they held, and they gained some from Democrats. Imagine a scenario where the Republican governor and the Republican legislature that's been elected by the people have a state where Joe Biden won the presidency. And they send their 20 electors or whatever, and they give them instructions to vote for Donald Trump. You could have a scenario where in the Electoral College, Donald Trump actually wins even though Biden won the election according to the current numbers. It could that is something that constitutionally can happen. We haven't heard anyone talking about that yet because, of course, that would be described as a coup, right? But constitutionally, it's allowed. It's within the rules. And if you think that Donald Trump is not going to fight with everything in the toolbox, you don't know Donald Trump. So you know that they're getting ready to do that. And you know they're working back channels on that. Once that happens, though, that's when the markets are going to go haywire. That's what I'm terrified of. That's why I'm still half in bonds. Because once somebody says your electors don't have to do this, that's when it's going to get shady quick. All right. Adobe Flash is discontinued, uninstalled, but Windows 10 keeps reinstalling. Windows 10 is not reinstalling it, KJ. Your secure updater is probably reinstalling your Flash player. So look in your lower right-hand corner of your screen, right down here, right down there. There it is. There, you got it. It's a shield with the letter U in the middle, down to the left of the clock. That's secure updater. Right-click on that, and then select the option that says, I want to make sure I say it right here, to select updates. And then you want to find the Flash player in there, Adobe Flash player, and uncheck it. And that way it won't reinstall on your computer ever again. Then you can uninstall it. But that's what I'm saying. With Secure Updater, we may have to do something programmatically to make sure that people don't have Flash player who think they have uninstalled it at the end. And there's an internal debate going on in Schrock whether or not removing a program from someone's computer is the same thing as updating it. We really don't want to misuse the trust that you guys give us with your security stuff. So on one hand, do you keep people safe, even though it might be a slight inconvenience to them if they play pogo games, and let them call and then we resolve it for them after the fact? Or do we just leave it up to people and stop and just delete Adobe Flash Player from Secure Updater and leave it up to you to uninstall it? Again, that's not really why you pay us, you know. So there's a little bit of an internal debate. 2019 holiday special and was working. Oh yeah, you had the card. So yeah, if that's the case, I would try deleting the software and then reinstalling it first. And if that doesn't work, your 2019 holiday special is still under warranty. So you can bring that in absolutely free of charge and have us take a look at it to find out why that 5G band isn't working. All of our service centers have 2.4 and 5G bands, so we'll be able to test that in the service center. Hey, no problem, Joe. Joe says, thanks for your service to the vets. No problem, Joe. I meant to have a total on how much we actually gave away for the show, but we still have some computers in the service center that are getting used, that are using the veteran coupon code. So I'll get you a total next week on how much we actually gave away. Last year it was around $8,000 though. It was pretty good. Can you use the Secure Updater on an Apple computer? No, you cannot. Right now, Secure Updater is only for PCs, unfortunately. The Apple computer environment is completely different and was never designed to work there. There's been some talk about doing that in the future, but right now there's no concrete plans. We would be more likely to integrate Drive Advisor into Apple before that, because there's literally no tool to check your hard drive on an Apple computer, and Apple is really good about masking hard drive failure until it's critical, especially given the fact that most of your Apple hard drives are now soldered down to a motherboard. It'd be really nice to know if they were failing before they went critical. Really nice. Steve says, I'm editing a documentary, and in addition to the usual backup of the D drive, I have an offline backup drive. I've been using SyncToy periodically to make sure the external offline drive is up to date. Is there a better way to do this? Having multiple backups is fine. I'm not familiar with SyncToy. I can tell you that right now in the Skunk Works at Schrock, we have, I won't say it's a project yet, but it's the rumblings of a project. The one big piece of software that we're missing from our internal toolbox is a remote cloud-based backup tool for our customers. We have played around with a number of white box options in the past. The problem is everybody gives you the tool for free, and then they charge you ridiculously for the storage. So, I mean ridiculously, like, $5 a gigabyte per month or something, where it's like a penny per gigabyte per month from Amazon. And so the idea that we have is, what if we came out with a backup tool, kind of like what Carbonite does, but way drummed down? You don't need to explore your backup. You don't need to be able to access your backup from an app from the field. Oh, I need a file from my hard drive. I'll just grab it from my backup. Boop, got it. Oh, I'm so smart. Nobody does that. And if you do that, there's better ways to do that. Don't do that from your backup. So now we have a backup that everybody needs, but nobody should ever need to access unless you're restoring a backup, right? That's what a backup is. So what if we came up with a backup service and we included it as part of a Schrock Desk subscription, where we back up your hard drive? We don't care how much you store. There's no limit, but you have to be a Schrock Desk subscriber. It's $30 a month. You get unlimited computer support, you get half-price labor services, and a free online backup with unlimited capacity for $30 a month. Now, we might have to go back at some point for the people who abuse it and put some kind of a limit on it. That's the working theory. We're working on it. But in your case, having a local backup drive is perfect. I recommend that. You don't want to rely exclusively on cloud if you can help it. The second thing is that the cloud backup is nice because if there's a fire, a flood, something like that happens, a tornado, your house gets swept off the earth, as long as you survive, your data is still in the cloud. So it sounds like you're doing it right. We would just use the Windows backup software to do a Windows file backup rather than like a SyncToy. I've never heard of it, but my guess is it's something similar. Randy says, Thor, thanks. There was an update for the mouse dongle. The new backdrop is great. Thanks. Appreciate it. Anyone else hear the church service in the background? Yeah. When the pipe organs go off, that's my sign that it's getting ready for me to get going. I'm more interested in computer issues rather than hearing politics on this morning briefing. I understand, Sarah. I was answering a specific question, and I was trying to be as incredibly fair as possible. Anyway, all done with politics. Thor's comments on voting is excellent as it does include computers. Oh, okay, we don't need to get in a fight about it, guys. I know everyone's so supportive. And here's the thing. We can all have dissenting opinions about things, and trust me, I'm tired about hearing about COVID. And literally, you can't say that online. I saw somebody say on a neighborhood Facebook group, if I hear one more person talk about COVID, I'm going to punch them in the face. And I think we can all echo that sentiment. And the response was immediate, and it was harsh. It was, bam. So you just want to deny reality, huh? Bam, go put your head in the sand. Bam. I was just like, wow. Can't we express that we're frustrated or that we're tired of something without being destroyed? I'm tired of hearing about it too. I bought 2 audiobooks in the last 4 days because I don't want to listen to the news anymore, guys. So I'm reading the news that I get. And even the sources I'm reading now, the ones on the left are getting really, really left, and the ones on the right are getting really, really right. And I'm just like, you guys, can I just get one news source that is straight with me? I'm not asking for a lot here. Just one that is like balanced, that's journalistic, that's not an opinion piece. When your lead paragraph has an exclamation mark in it, that's not journalism. I went to journalism school. That's not journalism. You don't have an exclamation mark in the lead paragraph because you're excited about it. That's editorializing. It's different. Just give me one news source. So that's what I'm trying to do. Sarah, that's all I'm trying to do is try to give people straight up information about why everyone is freaking out, and then everybody can go make their own decisions about what to do with it, and then we can stop talking about it. All right. Loanne, I hear you. All right. My understanding is that the After Schrock program is intended to discuss Thor, or discuss his views on various topics as well as computer issues. The main show is computer issues. Yes and no. I mean, the After Schrock, we can do whatever we want here. We can talk about anything. We can go as long as we want. We don't have commercial breaks. We don't have, Thor can go on a tangent here. This is what the radio show was like before we put schedules on it, except I was not talking about interesting things. I was talking about like all the viruses and stuff, and I'd go on like a tangent about, memory execution errors, and people would be like, Thor, you're losing me here. Talking about Amendment 25. A good news source is The Blaze. I agree, Keith. The Blaze does do a pretty good job of keeping it balanced. Obviously, I know that they are intended to lean more conservative. That was the intent when they were, or it's really sad when you say more conservative is like normal. But anyway, enough with the politics. Sarah's right. All right, so last call for questions, guys, before I get rolling. Next week, I got to figure out what I want for a backdrop, I guess. I just literally, I found this image. It was the first one I found on my hard drive, and I was like, bloop, let's put that image on there. Some other options. Let me see if there is any other options I could have used. Oh, let's see. Saved pictures, maybe? Nope, nothing there. I don't have a whole lot of pictures on this computer because I try to keep it pretty straightforward. I've got a lot of logos. Yep. Not a lot of pictures, though. What about on my OneDrive, maybe? I've got some pictures there I can look at. Pretty much the same. Wow. I don't have a lot of pictures, guys. Oh, wait, no, I'm in the same folder. Hold on a second. Let me grab OneDrive and go to Pictures and say, okay, pretty much the same pictures on OneDrive. Loving that. All right, so I don't have a ton of pictures on my laptop, all right? I'm lucky I found this one image for a backdrop, but I can literally use any picture I want. I could grab your Facebook images and put those back there. That'd be funny. A picture of the computer shop. We could do that. But then do we want the picture of the computer shop to be on a sunny day with leaves on the trees? Or a snowy day? Or daytime or nighttime? Rising sun or not rising sun? Stars or moons or what? So you see, it gets a little more complicated. And then, of course, I want video. I want something that moves in the picture. So it's actually like a moving background. So it's like it's got some stuff to it. So this is okay. This is going to be, I think, my default go-to, guys, until I find something better. But I'll be looking around. Now that I know that this works and it looks so much better, I'm going to definitely be looking around for something better to make sure that the show looks good. I can only do that on Zoom. I don't have the L'Oreal plugin. I can only do that on Zoom with the lipstick. But literally, it works. It's like scary how well it works, guys. It's super scary. It makes you. This is going to be one of the big funny things that you do to the people in the office. Back, when we had offices, is you go to sit at someone's desk while they're at lunch. And there was an option where you could right-click on the desktop and say hide all icons. You go into properties, you say hide all the icons. And it would literally get rid of all the icons. But before you do that, you take a screenshot of the desktop. You hit print screen. It takes a picture of the desktop, right? Then you hide all the icons, so there's no icons there, and you set the desktop wallpaper to be that picture. And then what ends up happening is people come back, they sit down at their desk, and it looks completely normal because the wallpaper has all the icons on it, and they're clicking on the icons and nothing's happening because it's just wallpaper. It's not a real icon. And then they're like, oh gosh, my computer's fried, and they call support. And I mean, that's like the equivalent. You could sit down at someone's computer now and change their Zoom settings. It's in beta. You go, you open up the Zoom program on the computer, and you click on the little settings gear in the top right corner, and you go down to video, and it's a beta thing that you have to enable. And then you can put eyebrows on, and you can put lipstick and a beard and mustache on. And then once you close that, it saves it, right? So the next person who gets on that Zoom computer is going to end up with a beard and a lipstick and everything else on. It could make for an interesting thing to do for somebody if you wanted to play a practical joke. Don't do it on somebody that's going to get them in trouble or anything. But if you wanted to play a practical joke, it's an interesting way to do it. Maybe I'll do that in the service centers to the guys, so when they join the Zoom call, they're all like wearing lipstick and stuff. That'd be kind of funny. We do a weekly Zoom call. Move to the side. Move to the side with like a short view of the background. Sure, watch this. I don't even have to move. I can just disable my camera feed like that. And we hit transition. Kaboom. And that's the background. This is the Compute This logo from the website. So like during commercial breaks, if I don't want you to watch me drink my coffee, I could just leave it on this. And like, after these messages, we'll be right back. And then I can make it visible again by just going blam and transition. And then there, we're back. This is the software we were going to put into the KFAB studio when they were going to do the remodel of the studio. And we were, rather than doing a chroma key, we were going to actually put like screens on the wall, TVs, so that you could have like virtual interviews and stuff. And I feel like the person was in the room. It got nixed, budgetary stuff with iHeart, but it is what it is. Oh yeah, the current one looks like I have antennas. Like I have horns. There we go. Look at that. I'm an idea man. Everything's backwards. There we go. Oh, click here. Click here. All right, enough fun. I'm just screwing around now, guys. All right, thank you for taking the time to join us today. I appreciate you watching the program and sharing it with friends and reviewing us on Facebook, reviewing us on Google. It means the world to me. If you haven't been into the service center recently, if you need maintenance and things like that, I implore you to get that done at your earliest convenience. It's really important to get it done. If things start to get really hairy again with COVID, you're going to be really thankful that you did. One of the other things also is when you bring your laptop and stuff like that, or desktops too, but laptops because we touch all over them, we sanitize those before you get them back. We sanitize the screen, we sanitize the keyboard, and the exterior, so that when you get your laptop back, anything that might have been on it when you brought it in is gone, and anything that might have been on it while it was in our shop is gone too. So literally, I know that everyone is tired of hearing about COVID and tired of wearing a mask. I am too. Tired of hand sanitizer. My hands are getting dry. I hate it. Tired of Lysol or not being able to find Clorox wipes everywhere. I hate it. But on the same hand, I have to acknowledge the fact that up to half of the population is completely terrified of this. And we need to make sure that we are keeping them safe too, from a digital perspective, right? And the way I keep them safe from a digital perspective is to make sure they're comfortable with us either doing a free pickup and drop off at their home that's contactless, or going out to the car and bringing it in for them, or making sure that everyone in my shop has a mask on. So if we're within 6 feet, we're wearing a mask. It's not fun, but it's something we got to do. If we're responsible about it, that's how we don't get shut down, in theory, anyway. So that's the hope. But did you hear there was an article about a bunch of restaurants banded together and sued the state for shutting down the restaurants? And I wish I had the article at my fingertips. My wife told me about it. I have not read the article myself, but a bunch of restaurants, like thousands of them, got together and they all went in together and they're suing the state. They want full restitution. They want all of their lost revenue refunded to them, all the money they would have made. So they're going to take 3 years of revenue and average it to get the amount of money they should have made that year. They want the state to pay them all of their lost revenue. They want the state to lift all other additional restrictions, and they're going to go to court. And constitutionally, the state doesn't have the right to shut down a restaurant or limit capacities of public gatherings. You can make the argument that the health department can shut down a restaurant for health department reasons, but the state can't say you can only have 25% capacity in your building. You cannot limit the right to assemble. It's a constitutional right. Now, you can encourage people not to do it. You can beg people not to do it, but you can't tell them they can't do it. And that's going to get tested in court. And if that goes through, you just wait for the lawsuits, guys. States are going to be bankrupted by this. Imagine the businesses all suing the state for all their lost revenue. It's going to be phenomenally impactful on budgets. So the stuff's not over, but hopefully we're getting closer to over. In the pandemic of 1918, it took about 18 months for people to start revolting against mask wearing and forming political organizations like the Anti-Mask League. With mass media now, I actually think it'll take longer because, everybody wants to be a good egg, right? I want to be a good egg. I don't want people to be afraid when I go out to a store that I'm going to infect them with COVID or something. So I'll put the mask on. The sign on the door says wear a mask. I'll put the mask on. I'm not going to die on that hill. I got bigger things to argue about in life, okay? Do I enjoy it, though? No. Do I enjoy that I went to Walmart last night, and they tried to put a mask on my 2-year-old son? Like, no, he's too little. He can't. Number one, the mask doesn't fit his head. I could tie the strings behind his head. Number two, he's a little kid. They don't breathe through masks. Everybody knows you don't do that to people that are the little kids like that. Little kids. The littles, like the ones you put in the shopping cart basket even though you're not supposed to. That size kid. You don't mask that kid. But anyway, it gets old. All right, so I'm going to bounce. Time to go. Got a lot to get done today. Got more backgrounds to pick out. Thanks for joining us, guys, and we will see you all again here next weekend for another edition of Compute This and the After Schrock. Have a great day.